Well, good day, Africa. Good day, South Africa. Good day, the world. Today, we have a topic, a very, very important topic that we would like to share with you with a special guest. And the title of the topic is South Africa-US Relations, Caught Between Politics and Business. Interesting indeed. Please introduce yourself to your audience, lady.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. My name is Madelein Mkunu. I'm the founder and president of Leading Women of Africa, which is a Pan-African social enterprise promoting women's leadership and African regional integration. I also recently launched Beyond Boundaries, which is a platform amplifying women's perspective on global issues such as geopolitics, trade, development, and diplomacy. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. To give our viewers some context, it is worth noting that you were invited by the US State Department to join a leadership and professional skill program on women economic empowerment at Michigan State University. Secondly, you participated in the second China Africa Think Tank Forum in Ethiopia 2012. Then you were invited by Hong Kong Baptist University to discuss building win-win partnership between China and Africa. Lastly, you served on the Strategic Framework Committee of South Africa Department of Trade and Industry, Gender and Economic Empowerment. Such a powerful, very powerful context. Now the question is, can you tell us about those experiences?
Thank you so much. Indeed, it was such a great opportunity during my early years of leadership journey to have such opportunities to basically sit at the global tables where global policies were being discussed. And that really allowed me to shape my vision, my leadership, but also my aspirations about geopolitics. So it was really a privilege for me to be allowed to contribute in shaping economics and gender-related agendas, policies, issues, and that journey actually deepened my interest in geopolitics. Yes, it was good to sit, and I think when you talk about the women or gender framework that was under the Department of Trade and Industry, that was under the leadership of the late Mrs. Tabete, Elizabeth Tabete, long before we even had a Ministry of Gender presidency. And so it was really great to really just be at that space, and it really enlightened me and just equipped me, deepened my interest for geopolitics, and especially the dynamics between Africa and the major powers such as China, US, and Europe. But I must just stress, I'm not a geopolitics expert or neither a politician. I'm also not representing any institution or any government. I think the views that I'll be sharing today is just my own perspective as a woman leader and also as a founder of Leading Women of Africa and the founder of Beyond Boundaries, which I believe is a platform that want to give women's perspective on different issues. So my views are rooted really on personal experience and the observation at the continental level as we travel to, conferences and debates and so on. So we learn quite a lot, and we believe that we have a view.
Fantastic. Personal experiences and observation, especially in the field that we are talking always, been very, very important. So really, we will need to hear that. That's why you are here. Yeah, you have witnessed South Africa democracy from 1994 until today. How will you sum up the current state of South Africa-US relations?
Right, yes, indeed. I witnessed the transition from the apartheid to the new South Africa in 1994. And so back then I was really not interested in politics, as a young woman, not really interested in politics. But as now we are interested in politics and the geopolitics and how the world is going, I've come to understand that South Africa, no, the US actually played a key role in supporting South Africa's democratic transition. It offered development aid, political legitimacy, but also access to global market. And trade-wise, the partnership between South Africa and the US, it really flourished. Over the years, it seemed to be a marriage made in heaven. However, as we can witness today with the tariffs and so many issues that are going between the two countries, definitely that relationship is under strain.
The relationship, of course, is under strain, but let's revisit the time where everything was going so very well. And at the center of trade relationship was AGOA. Now, according to you, how AGOA, excuse me, has been at the center of trade between the two countries?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very, very interesting question. I remember in 2013 when I attended the Michigan State University. It was the time where AGOA was going to be renewed in 2015, and I remember, we've actually contributed, by bringing our contribution to motivate the renewal of AGOA. The African Growth Opportunity Act, as we call it in short, AGOA. We know that it was enacted in 2000 in the year 2000, just 6 years after the start of democracy in South Africa. And actually, AGOA was from what we understand now, has been the cornerstone of SA-US relations. It's provided duty-free, to over 1,800 products, from agri to automotive to mining. So those sectors really benefited from AGOA. In 2022 alone, the report from AGOA, it showing that South Africa exported product worth 622 million, and of which I think 72%, 70 or 72% was from agri-product. So definitely SA and US, they've enjoyed really good relationship over the years, over 3 decades. And, under the AGOA was actually the cornerstone that really, bonded the two countries and so on.
Oh, I see. Yeah. People can understand and relate to that very well. So from a very good relationship, but today, South Africa-US relations seems to be at the crossroad. And everyone is asking the question, what is driving the tension between them?
Yeah, I believe that even though South Africa enjoyed strong relations with the West, which was crucial, during the post-apartheid era, enjoys really the backing of international institutions, the West, whether Europe or US. But South Africa realized as well that it's part of the global South. And over the years, obviously, it's now over 3 decades now. 3 decades now, that realization actually made South Africa to start shifting its foreign policies. toward a more multipolar kind of world. And though that is strategic for South Africa, it's actually strategic for them to to align themselves with the global South because they're part of the global South. However, that shift, irritated the traditional partners. It created friction. So for me, when one analyzes the situation from a marriage, from a relationship that was stable and very, very strong, to an era where we are seeing, they are fighting, there's tariffs, and South Africa is being imposed with 30% tariff on all its products. And despite the negotiation, and I believe Ramaphosa and Trump, they met at the Oval Office. And while everyone was hoping that, yeah, this will be, the relationship will be easily restored, unfortunately, we can see that, nothing has happened from that meeting. I mean, nothing positive as far as South Africa is concerned. So, yeah, it's definitely that friction, that shift have made that the traditional partners, the previous partners, are not at ease with this.
The shift, which is considered as a strategic, has created friction. And it's a shift that has moved South Africa toward the BRICS. Okay. But the question is, how important is South Africa's role within BRICS? And what does it mean to the local businesses?
Thank you so much for bringing the BRICS, the BRIC aspect here, because when we're talking about South Africa moving or shifting to a more multipolar world, so we could see that South Africa have joined BRICS, and South Africa actually being one of the founding members of BRICS. So I think what we can see there is that South Africa represented Africa with its 54 countries, 1.4 billion people. So it was really Africa represents actually a big part of the global South, that we must never forget that. But beside that, if we look at BRICS, in it, BRICS as a bloc, they represent over 42% of the world's population and 27% of the global GDP. And by South Africa being part of the BRICS, they actually represent Africa. And like I was alluding to earlier on, they are the gateway to Africa, and also a voice of reform, global governance, and so on. So what we can see, what is really, really important, is that South Africa being in BRICS, it's actually benefiting the African businesses. We could see I think recently, South African delegation visited China, and as we could see, they secured an agriculture deal of billions of dollars, and that is the benefit of belonging to a global South institutions, because it represents over 42% of the population. So I think South Africa does not, this is really what I'm reading by trying to shift. It's actually just a way of saying that we don't want to continue leaving all the eggs in one basket. We want to diversify partners. We want to grow. We want to actually promote inclusive partnerships. So I think that's what we can see, that the benefits of South Africa being in BRICS. Yes, we know that now BRICS Plus includes some more African countries. I think for that strategy of BRICS to include more African countries, for me, just to continue amplifying the voices of the global South. The more countries could be part of BRICS Plus, the more the impact that they will have on businesses. And I think that is one thing that I could see through BRICS. It's more economic development. It's more to grow businesses, to create jobs, industrialization is actually part of what personally I can see the aim of BRICS. It's more to promote industrialization for global South.
Fantastic. And we have seen, or people are observing, the friction, especially when it comes in terms of the tariff battle, between US and South Africa, and represented by US President Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa. Who stand to win or lose in the current tariff and in the current tariff tension between the two countries?
Wow. Yeah, I think in scenarios like this, I don't think there's any winners. If we look at just from South African context, South Africa's exports depend greatly on the US, So if they are to lose the US market, there will be job losses. And I think as a country, we know, I think I was just listening to the radio yesterday, the unemployment rate has gone up. So if we are to lose a market, obviously there will be job losses. On the US side as well, if they are to lose South Africa, they will also be basically lose access to key African markets, to key African markets, because South Africa, like we say, it's a gateway to Africa. So I think definitely there will be no winners in this situation. We know that for Donald Trump is, make America great. And obviously we know any development, there's no development that happens in isolation, so we'll need partners, they will need Africa, and so I believe for US as well, they really cannot afford to lose a partner such as South Africa. So for me, my advice would be for them to continue negotiating until they get a fair deal that is suitable for every party.
Continuing negotiating until they find a fair deal. What a best way to describe the situation. Yeah, you have unpacked everything that everyone could have asked as a question to bring more highlight to the situation between South Africa and America. So, what is your final thought that you can leave our people with, our audience with now?
Yeah, I think my final thought will be just really simple. Whether we like it or not, the world is shifting. The world is changing. It's a new business configuration, right? So I believe that every country need to be given the freedom to diversify partnership, because this has never happened before, where we have a multipolar world. I know we don't want to talk about multipolar world, but I think whether we like it or not, that's what is coming. There's more powers emerging here and there, and we cannot ignore. We cannot continue to ignore. So what is important is that every power, every country need to be given the freedom, the autonomy to actually diversify its partnerships as it sees fit. Every country has at the core, they want to create jobs, they want to grow their economies. So it's not just about tariffs. For me, it's more about sovereignty. Every country is sovereign. Every country deserves the dignity. Every country, have the responsibility for development and economic growth of its people. So as far as Africa is concerned, I always say Africa need to choose for itself. Africa need to work up. I think the world is shifting, and I can only encourage African leaders to remember that the people are waiting for them, and they need to wake up, and they need to choose for the future of the continent.
It's about sovereignty, dignity, and development. Well said, madam. And we want to thank you really for responding to our call to come to bring or unpack what is all about the relationship between South Africa and the US. And we would like to invite you next time, because in the end of the day, when we receive more questions coming from our audience, we would like to call you back so that you continue to provide us with crucial information that can highlight our people about everything that is happening between South Africa, US, Africa, and the rest of the world. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talk to you next time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.